Good evening, everyone. I request everyone to turn on the video camera. All the participants, all the prior students. Usman, Naresh, Adarsh, Rishabh, Sanjay, Vishal, Vivian, Yatish. Please turn on the camera. Yeah, good. How's the things are going on, guys? Everyone is fine?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I welcome you for everyone to the today's session, business document and regulation by Vinay Kumar sir. I think we already sir has already taken the first session and this is the second session. Again, but this will be a very much interactive session. Please discuss with the sir and what are the doubts and everything. Again, I'm handing over the session to you, sir.
Yes, give me 1 minute.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Good evening to everybody. And I think let me just share the PowerPoint so that it becomes easier. Okay. Today's session, we are going to talk about basically about contract and some basic transactions which the companies are going to be involved with. And there are too many documents, but in this session, we'll only be talking about uh, in today's agenda. I think we will have only the employment contracts, which you will employ the guys for your company. Then you have temporary people hiring. What are the agreements that has to be in place? Then we have non-disclosure agreements. When since most of you are going to be startups, so we all believe that it's going to be a novel and innovative idea. So I think having NDA is one of the prerequisites and highly recommended to any startup or even for any company because that gives them an edge of not disclosing their secrets in the market. Then we're talking about research agreements, what agreements you need to have in place if in case you're getting grants and you want to do about. Then you have collaborative agreements, which you are willing to work with another company on a specific project or a specific idea and to develop it. And then we have work order agreements where you are giving a statement of work or work to other people or other companies to carry out certain piece of work. On the second part, we're going to talk about company transactions, which are like the invoices, the purchase order, the GST filings, and the MCA filings. Okay, so this is going to be the agenda for today's discussion. And at any given point of time, please feel free to talk and air your opinion. And more questions is always welcome. Okay, so are we good to go? Okay, I hope you can hear me, right? Okay, when we say employee contracts, okay, or an employment contract, that means you're hiring a person on a permanent basis on your roles of the company. So it is a very important decision on whom you're going to hire. So that means the person coming should have be of skills that is required by your company, and he should be adding value to your company and when an assignment or a job is assigned to him. Okay, so that is where it starts. So you are going, the terms that has to be in an employment contract is, what is the title you're going to offer him? So what is the benefit? Benefit is important because even if you're going to another company to work, this is going to be the thing, like what is going to be your pay and what are the benefits that a company is going to offer you, right? So the benefit could be in terms of bonus, it could be in terms of some perks, so it could be in terms of some special things that is given to you, like ESOPs, which is employee share options. So these are all the things which will add to the benefits, and that has to be specified at the time of issuing the employment contracts. Second, the third point is all about vacation and leave. And when are you entitled for standard leaves, which are given 16 days is minimum that is defined by the government of India. So apart from that, there are every company has got its own policy. If you're working for a multinational company, then you usually get somewhere between 22 to 25 days based on which company you're working for. Or if you're working for standard or an Indian company, you normally get between 20 and 22 days. So this is important. And then what is the confidentiality agreement you're going to sign up with that person so that he does not disclose many things what he's doing in the company. Okay. Remuneration is also important. Sorry, that's the basic salary that you're going to pay him every month or annum. That is what it's determined. And the important point is on the termination of the contract. And what does the termination clauses actually mean? Like if you want to terminate a person who, when you say he's not fit, it could be many things. It could be on disciplinary action for not following the rules that are laid down by the company. It could be his confidentiality leak, if that is what he's working on, and or passing on some leads from the company to another company. So there are various things which will be written down in the contract, which will say what he should not be doing, and if he does something like that, then the company can take an action on him and terminate him. And also the termination clauses, if you're going to terminate him as of today, then are you going to pay him something or extra, or you're going to deduct it from his allowances or salary and then you will relieve him? So these are all the important factors to be put in, I think, because this is going to be a very uh, the foundation document for your company, because the more people you're going to hire, everybody, you need to bring in a uniform level for everybody to play in that. Okay. And then if he's traveling on company work from to different places, meeting people, then what is his, how are you going to reimburse him? Are you going to reimburse him by the end of the month, the end of the week, or on the same day? So these are all the things which you'll have to do. So this is an important clause, especially when it comes to startup. It is called as a golden parachute. So what it really means is, I'm working for a startup. So you are going to get funds from an investor, and then there comes a point of time when several investors, also along with the company, will be bought by a bigger company, let's say. So then, what are the benefits that the employee going to get when such a thing happens? Like he's going to get a big bonus, he's going to get shares, which is going to be a part of his things. So this is one of the important clauses I purposely introduced in this session, so that if you're going to open a company, you need to include this clause so that when a company takes you or you become big, so then these are the things which will benefit the employee. And I think the best example for this was Infosys, and I think where a lot of employees got shares as benefit when they became really went public and things like that. Okay, so you need to consider all these points when you're trying to incorporate into an employee contract. And this is also this is also important because if death or disability happens working in the office or during the office hours, then you need to have certain clauses in it. Like Of course, if you're working in a lab and if an accident happens or if a fire happens, then if somebody gets injured, then what are the things that the company will do for the person? And the same way, if it is a logistics company and you have too many drivers and support staff, and if something happens to them on the road and if a death happens, then what are the things that will be covered? So there are different types of insurances for this, and you need to look into all those aspects, but you need to include that in the contract, saying it like we will be covered by certain insurances which are available in the market, and we will follow those norms. Okay. And of course, the last one is very important. As I told earlier also in the previous session, dispute and resolutions are very important. You're going to say how you're going to resolve it within the company, not only with the employees, but I think it's for everybody. It's a general uh, topic where everybody needs to understand it. And if you put this in the contract, then it's easy to resolve it when it comes to that stage. Okay, so this is for the employees I'm talking about. For employees means who are employed by the company on permanent basis. So what is the difference when I say permanent basis is like you are liable for entire paying of their taxes and their insurance and their health, whatever it is, the company has to take care of it. So the employee has no obligation towards it. So when you hire a person, so all these things have to be taken care by the company. Okay. So if you don't file the taxes, which is the standard taxes which are deducted and filed to the government, standard PF, provident funds, and ESI or standard health insurances, or any other things that is liable to the employee is completely taken by the company. That is what makes him as a permanent employee of the organization. Okay. Now we go to the temp contract. Temp contract is also same. There's no difference in anything, except if you see there is no this golden parachute thing in it, and also this benefits will not be there. Okay. So if you come to this, all other things are there, but you'll have two things extra addition instead of that is the probation details and the performance measurements. So what will happen is the person who's coming under this heading or temporary or contract basis, he will not be getting bonus. He is not liable to any of the other schemes that is related to the employee. And the third one is he will be on the basis only for a short duration of time, that however the duration can be specified by the company, how long you're going to employ this person. And the last one is intellectual property. If there's an intellectual property that is coming out of the work that you're assigning to him, he has no ownership of that. The company has ownership of it and they've hired him to work in that space, but he cannot claim any intellectual property over that work. So again, also termination, you got to say on what terminate or what are the basis for termination. Those things have to be defined. And more importantly is this, at the end of the tenure, you have to measure the performance. So how you're going to measure those performance also need to be detailed out, right? So this is what is important when you're writing a permanent employee contract and a temp or a contracted employee who's going to work for the organization. Okay, so having said this, do you have any questions on this so far?
Yeah, Vinay, I will ask questions.
Yes, sure, please.
Yeah. So some of the startups actually have interns. Okay. So interns won't fall in any of this category of temporary or permanent. But how to bind them in the NDA or any kind of clauses like this?
No, you will see for us as from a legal perspective, interns are also considered as temp.
Okay.
Okay, so the distinction of being temp or an intern or a contract worker, that the law says that you are not hired permanently.
Okay.
Okay, so the causes of intern is either some interns can just be paid on the work basis, or they're just there for some experience basis, which has to be specified.
Okay.
So if you so in the remuneration details, you'll specify that, for example, if you take an intern who just wants to come and gain experience, then you say like he's going to get work experience for which there will be no remuneration paid to this person.
Okay. Fair enough.
Okay.
And
yeah. So we look either you're permanent, temp, or contract. Contract has got even more specific. You're hired only for that specific type of role. Temp is like you come in and you keep working on daily working basis on a project, and you can go after the end of the project. Contract is like in that project, you're coming only for a specific piece of work.
okay. So that means even if it is an intern or a contract employee, like someone I'm not asking to come daily, maybe weekly once, for them, this kind of temp contract is good to work with. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Okay. And if you have an employee, I understand there is some kind of salary slip is to be given. So what is the requirement to do that?
See, if it's an employee, you have to deduct the taxes. You have to issue a salary slip. You have to you have to pay his the company side contribution towards his PF. And if you're the basic of the health is you have to provide ESI schemes to the employee.
Okay.
So this is a must as per the
Great.
labor laws constitute now as of today.
Right.
There is a salary slip. That is, if you're hiring on permanent basis, you have
done enabled actually to yeah. Okay. For that, the CS are going to help out. CA and CS, correct?
not CS actually. Basically, it's just a you have to know how many people are working for you on permanent basis, and what is the salary, and how is it going to be paid, and what date it's going to be paid. So then a simple accountant can do it. Or if you don't have an accountant, even you can do it if you have less employees, less than 10. But if you have more than 10, I think you can always ask somebody to do it. Or nowadays, if you wherever your bank account is, if you instruct the bank themselves will do it.
Okay. Wonderful. Thanks a lot. Yeah. So any of the Priya, if you have any questions, please go ahead.
You can always come back if you haven't. If you don't have any questions at this point of time, we can always come back and you can ask. Okay.
Sure, Vinay. Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, Vinay, you can proceed further then.
Okay. So now we're coming to non-disclosure agreements. Okay. So this is an important element for especially for startups. I would say especially for startups because you are new, and as I said, we all believe that most of the startups are coming with a novel idea or a creative element into the business. So this is an important element, and everybody, whether you are going to use it or not, but you need to have this in place. Okay. So what does a non-disclosure agreement mean? Like, is an agreement in which parties agree not to disclose. This is very important. Not to disclose confidential information covered by the agreement. So that means if you say this is confidential, or you think this is a patentable idea or patentable product or whatever it is, or any creative idea, then you have to get this and say like not to disclose. For example, I'm having this pencil, I'm going to make this into a blue color. So I can have a confidential agreement telling it like you cannot disclose that I'm going to paint this pencil as blue. Okay, so it is usually signed by two parties and there's a time around it. And the types of agreements can be between company to company, organization to organization, company to employee, company to temp staff, company to individuals, companies to whom you're collaborating with, right? So this is what NDA means. Why is it needed? So that you are in control of your proprietary information, sensitive information also sometimes, like the data is a very important feature. Like even though you're using some data for other works, you can't tell the other person to take away your data or use his data for his own purpose. Okay, so now data is a very important thing in today's world today, right? And the last thing is important. If it would not be possible for a court to provide relief for confidential information disclosure if the party has not signed an NDA. So, for example, you sign an agreement and tomorrow, if somebody breaks it, then there should be a measurement to say like what he has broken in the agreement. So then when you approach a court also for either the idea that he to be brought back to you, or you're challenging certain things and financial constraints on that. So when you approach the court will definitely ask you, do you have this NDA in place? If there is no NDA in place, there is no way to measure how much of loss or ideas you have lost. So I would recommend, highly recommend, even though in the previous sessions we discussed around the founders agreement and all that. Even if you don't have the founders agreement, but try to have the non-disclosure agreement in place so that within the company and the people who are working with you, so that you are very confident that tomorrow, even if there are some leaks, it can always be challenged. Okay, so I put some points, especially for startups. So why you need this is, you will need this when you're presenting something for investment to an investor who's going to come in, or a distributor or a partner to come and help you out with whatever your idea is or what you're building it. So you will, for one reason, they'll say, do you have an NDA in place? And the second thing is like, is it a patentable product? So these are the questions which will be asked to you. So having an NDA is one of the fundamentals. Then if you're receiving services with other organizations, other entities, or you're working with other things, then it protects your uh, integrity as well as the idea into it. Then it providing access to employees, then you can be confident that if they leak or if they do something, it is okay. So why I put this in place is because we had a case where a group of people uh, from IIT were working with Chase Manhattan Bank, and they were building a product, but these guys came out and built a similar product with some enhanced features on it, but they got sued by Chase Manhattan Bank because they were employees before. So it went on a lengthy course of action, and anything you break in this NDA is going to be a criminal offense. It is not a civil offense. So there will be criminal law applied on you, which could be bailable and non-bailable types of things. So that is why NDA is very important, so that even before somebody breaking it will think twice. Okay. So these are the 4 points which are important. Like fourth one is showcasing your product or services to a prospective client, or the client might copy from you, something like that. So they don't do it. So that's why an NDA is placed. So even I highly recommend that even before going out and presenting it out in some forums for investment fundings and other things, you always have an NDA with them so that somebody doesn't steal your idea or your concept. Because I've seen a lot of things being copied and they cannot challenge it because they didn't have this in place. So since you're all very young and coming out with new things, highly recommend please do this. Okay. Now there are three types of NDAs broadly. Okay. One is unilateral. So where you have an NDA with other party and say like only I will give you information or only you will give me information. It's only one-way traffic and nothing else beyond it. Right? Or if I have an idea, I will only give you a part of the idea. Don't ask me further questions. You just work on what I have told you and you just give me your feedback, but no other interactions. So then you have a bilateral NDA. That means both the parties sign up to, like you're collaborating or you are using each one's skills to build a product. So then you freely share information between two companies to build or get to a product level basis. And that time there's a free flow of ideas and things which help to build the domain. Then the third one is the multilateral, where you can have more than 2-3 parties working on it to get, somebody's going to give you data, somebody's going to give you a product, then mixing both of it, you're going to make another service, value added service to that. So it's all based on that. So these are three basic levels of agreement what we have, you should have in place, and you can choose what you want to do. And always it will not be one, it will always be multilateral. It will always be bilateral, unilateral, depending on whom you're working with. These are different types of NDAs you can have it. Okay. So what are the clauses that are important in a non-disclosure agreement? Is the confidential information. What is that you're holding confidential and what is your proprietary concept, product, or service which is going to make it into the public domain. Then what are the terms of agreement and how to use this information? Whether he can use the information or you're going to use the information, and what are the clauses between when you want to use the information. So this is also known thing. And there are exceptions to confidentiality obligations, which means there are certain exceptions in the NDA which says no matter what, you cannot disclose these things to anybody in the agreement. So that if there are one party, two party, three parties, the underlying thing is these things can never be disclosed into the public domain at all. Okay. Then return of information. Return of information is when you give, what is it that you're going to get back, and what is it that he can keep, and what is it that you can keep. So this is an important piece of thing, especially when it comes to data sharing. That is very important for the returning of the information. Then you have to write down what is a remedy in case there's a breach in the NDA. So if I disclose it to somebody else or I tell something else to somebody, then what is it that is there that is going to do it? This is seventh is important. Arbitration is a place which, if you go down the legal route, it's going to be a lengthy one. Arbitrations are much shorter ones and can be settled easily. So we need to tell what is the jurisdiction of the arbitration that we are going to have this litigation under, and also jurisdiction and governing laws of, like for example, if your company is going to be based in Bangalore, then it would fall under the jurisdiction of this one. But if you're collaborating with a Singapore company, then that company may say like you fall into the jurisdiction of Singapore, or if you're going any else place, the laws of that thing will follow. So all these things will come into thing. If you're giving it, if somebody is giving you a non-disclosure agreement, then they will dictate what needs to be in this. Okay, so now we did non-disclosure agreements. So I'm open for questions on this.
Hello, sir. I'm Adarsh from TechBusters.
Yeah.
So I wanted to know, as a pre-I, will this non-dis NDA will it be valid because it's not registered? So from a legal point of view, what will be the viability of, I mean, the credibility of it?
So are you an individual or a company now?
Right now, we are in pre-incubation. There is a team, and we are looking for an intern. And then, in order to get the work done, we have to tell our idea, right? So we have to tell the idea. So that's the
So
part.
you're
So we are
okay.
planning to keep
Now,
the NDA.
what is your team? Do you have an NDA between your team?
No, sir. That also we have to do.
Yeah. So now first you have to start with that idea of doing an NDA within the team.
Okay.
Okay. That's point number one, so that everybody knows where they stand. And second is you don't need a company also. You can have an individual NDA, which is
Yeah.
individual to individual NDA, saying it like we have this idea and you cannot disclose it idea, but you can help us or whatever you want to do with.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. Thank you.
Any further questions? Okay. Coming to research contracts, usually research contracts are set for doing by in a college or within a college or working with any of the government bodies or things, and it may have a certain specific purpose of doing this. Okay, so that means you're going to build research means you're doing something new and trying to come out something innovative in it, right? So the contracts needs to have these are the points that needs to have. What is the definition of work that has to be undertaken? Define the financial contribution and payment terms. Are you going to be partly funded, fully funded, or if they fund you initially, are you going to give back some money back to them after a certain period of time? So all this will come into it. Then how are you going to do all this? Share the technical, commercial, and economic risks of each party, whoever is involved in this project. So when you set out a publication on that, then what are the publication results? Who will be whose names will be put in those publication, and who are going to be the authors of that publication? And that's what we mean. Establish who will own the results of the work and who has the right to use them in future also. Set out agreed liability and indemnities. So if there is a liability of somebody claiming X and Y, then who is going to be responsible for that? So this is what is going to be a major. I've written on a very high level, but when you get into details, there are many more clauses which will come into it based on project to project basis. Okay. Collaboration projects contracts, I would say, are usually between uh, two organizations or an organization and an individual. Okay. So, but at least there should be one organization which will do it. So, for example, the simplest collaboration contract I could say is like somebody is building a house. So there is one individual and there is one company which will say that I'll build your house, and this person will say like I want it in this particular fashion, and so there is a contract drawn usually to say like I will pay you this much to complete this work, right? So this is what it is. This is what I mean. All parties will be bound by the same terms and condition, and the agreement will usually set out how overall the project will be managed between the two parties, right? So this is the house was a simple example, but if you're doing a bigger project, then again you will have if you come out with a very good innovation, then you're going to be who's going to, for example, if it was your idea, then it also comes into say like if you're going to be awarded cash award or recognition and given us different recognition in terms of whatever it is, who's going to claim it, or it's going to be joint, or what it means. So all those comes into things. And also the most important thing is the funding part of it. So who wants funding and what percentage of fundings do each contributor owns? Okay. So and also what it means is like who's going to be the lead partner in that project or in the collaboration, or which company A or company B, or if there are more than two companies. Also, we need to define which company is going to be the lead partner in this. So then we have work order agreements. Work order agreements, what we mean is like you are a company now or an individual now. You are asking a third party to do work for you. Okay. So now when you write that, so what are the main contents? It will be the purpose of the work order, what is the quantity of the work, price, payment terms, terms for termination, terms of for completion, ownership of work. So these are the main broadly headings which you will put it in your statement of work and say like we want you to do this work, and for doing this work we will pay you this price. And how do we pay you is also given. Are you going to pay once and for all at the end of the project, or are we going to release 10% advance first? Then when you reach half stage of the project, we'll pay you 50%, and then the remaining 15% at the end of the project. So it's a workable thing, and every company has got different ways in which they do this. And so, for example, if you are looking at a spare parts manufacturer, so usually what they would do is they will place an order for 1,000 pieces of spare parts, but they would issue 50% advance for him to buy the material and do the work, and the rest 50% will be paid upon delivery of those spare parts. Okay, so that is one law. Other things is like in the software industry is you're not paid anything upfront. You'll only be paid at the end of the delivery of the project. So different industry have got different norms, but more or less these are all the points that are going to be there in that contract. Even if it is a one-page contract, so please, all these documents what I'm talking about, please at least have what drafted in one page, so that there is something on paper rather than nothing. So it helps you when it comes to certain disputes, litigations. It helps you to say like this is what was given to you and you have agreed to it, and that is where it can be resolved easily. Okay, before we go to transactions, I'll just go to the overview of it, and we will just take any questions regarding this, the first part. Do you have any questions on this? Okay, if no questions, I think we'll just finish the other parts of it. That's okay. Now we are talking about transactions. What is there in a car? What happens in a
Vinay, one quick question.
Yes, please.
Yeah. Any of these agreements, like NDA or others, to be done on this stamp paper, as well as should it be notarized?
See, you don't need to notarize it, but if it is on a bond paper, it is good. But
20 rupees is good enough, correct?
20 rupees is good enough, but in some cases, you don't need to have the 20 rupees bond paper also. You can just have it on plain paper, but both parties signing on it.
Okay. Okay. And the witnesses being there.
Yeah, obviously, when you sign, you'll have
Sure.
at least 2 witnesses is required. So you can ask one from the other company to sign and one from your company to sign, so it will be okay.
Okay.
So you don't
And
really
how
need
about-
actually.
Mhm.
You don't.
Continue.
My recommendation is you really don't need a bond paper because you're not going to register this. But this is mutual agreement, and keep it simple and plain.
Fantastic. Sure. Thank you.
Yes, you are asking one more question.
My question was regarding this founders when they are doing their signature of NDA. Should that be notarized or not? At least like founders part, not
See,
about the
founders,
interns and others. Yeah.
no. The founders agreement should be done on a bond paper and registered.
Okay. Yeah.
That is safest way, because tomorrow if a private equity comes in, so if it is not registered, then they will not recognize this founders agreement.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot.
If it is registered, then you're really considered as a founder or a co-founder.
Okay. Any other questions, students? All right, I don't see any hands risen till now.
Sure. We'll go down to the trans. We can always come back whenever you feel you get a question in your mind. Please ask. Don't feel afraid. This is very, very informal. So please shout and ask as much as you want. Don't worry about you should ask. Is it stupid? Is it good? Is it intellectual question? Don't worry about all that. Just ask. Okay. Now coming to the basic transactions of a company, you will have purchase orders, the invoices. Then if you are a GST thing, then you have to do GST filing, and then you have to do MCA, Ministry of Corporate Filings, which is at the end of the year. So what exactly is a PO? PO is a document where you are asking somebody to do some work for you or supply some material to you. So this is a fundamental thing of money going out of your bank or from your pocket to the other company for services or for receiving some material. For example, you need 10 computers to work in an office. So you issue a PO to an organization who make laptops, telling them please supply with the specification saying it like with 8 GB RAM, 1 TB hard disk, touch screen, no touch screen, whatever it is. You tell them I need 10 laptops, and for this I'm going to pay you 10,000 rupees per laptop. So please supply it. So this is a simple purchase order which you will have to do it. So you will have to keep repeating this purchase order every time you want to buy something for your company, or buying a service, or buying any physical product for your company. Okay. So when you issue the order, then you know how much of money you have to pay. And when you come to invoices, invoices is something you have supplied to your client and he has to pay you. Then you know how much of money you have to receive. So then you know what is the outflow and what is the inflow, right? So this is how you do it. So invoice is a document when you actually sell your services or product to a customer or a client, and for which you will be paid, right? So this is how you start generating revenue for your company. So you will have to issue an invoice. So there are a couple of invoices, which is like one is a pro forma invoice and one is actual invoice. Pro forma invoice is like an estimated amount of service or product you're selling. You may have to generate a pro forma invoice if you're sending goods from place A to B, because the commercial tax departments are going to ask what is the value of your goods. Okay, so you'll have to create a pro forma invoice to say like approximately my goods are going to cost you around 1 lakh. But the true value of it will only be determined after it reaches the place, and then you'll do an invoice which could be like 1,20,000, 1,25,000, whatever it is. But for the transportation of the goods, you should have generated a pro forma invoice, if not the actual invoice. Okay, so but invoice is very important because this is the only legal document which will bind both parties for having agreed to buy something and receive something. So in case your invoices are not being paid, the simple thing is there is a consumer court or in double road. So you need to approach the consumer court in order to say this party has not paid me this thing, and you will get it. If it is less than a certain value, of course. If it is greater than the value, then you will have to approach the district court in order to get this back. Okay. So also you will have invoice needs will be periods like it will be 30 days, 40 days, 50 days for you to receive the payment from the party. So it will all be mentioned here. We will provide you the sample invoice and the sample PO document, so where you can see what are all the details that are going to be in it. Okay, so now coming to GST. GST is a must. If you have the certificate, you have to file it, and it is a criminal offense if you don't pay GST. Very important to know, right? So GST document is like if you're purchasing something and you're selling something, they are giving GST to you, applying GST to you, and you are applying GST to the other person. So it is the net of input versus output. What I mean is, like, if when you're buying something, if your GST is 100 rupees, but when you're selling is 150 rupees, then 150 minus 100 is 50 rupees. So you're liable for 50 rupees of GST that has to be paid. And very important thing is you have to pay it by 11th of the following month. For example, when I say 11th is, if you are in the month of April, whatever transactions you have done for the month of April has to be paid by the 11th of May, which is the following month. And also companies which are greater than 1.5 CR, or if you reach a turnover of 1.5 CR and above, you can opt for quarterly filing of the GST. I purposely did not put the quarterly filing because initially my belief is like it will take some time for you to reach 1.5 crore turnover. And also, this is very important. There will be, if you pay GST even a day late, you will be penalized for it. When I say penalized, is like it may not be too much. It may be like 30 rupees a day, 40 rupees a day as the days goes, but there will be a penalty for it. But even if there is zero filing, if you have a GST certificate and even if you're not bought anything or not invoiced anything, you'll do a zero filing. For zero filing, also if there's a delay, you'll be fined for that. So it's very important when you have a GST certificate to pay this. At least file the zero filing by the 11th in order to avoid any penalties. Clear? Or do you need some more details around it?
Hello, sir. Rishabh,
Yeah.
this. I have a doubt on the thing which is mentioned as an input tax.
Yeah.
As it is mentioned here, it is tax paid on the purchases. So now here, if there is if the source of income is a seed fund, and from that we are buying a product, and we are not currently we are not selling that. But if you are buying a few products, then for that also should we need to pay the GST of 18%?
Are you registered under GST?
No, sir, not yet.
Then this doesn't apply to you. If you have a GST certificate, then this applies to you. If
Okay.
you are having, if you do not have a GST certificate issued, then you don't fall under any GST filing.
Okay, sir. So if like if we
But when you
have
buy products, but you're liable to pay GST, but you cannot claim back GST because you're not registered as a GST.
Mhm. Okay, sir, got it.
Okay.
Yeah, Vinay, continuing to that particular question,
Yes.
recently one of my friend who had got grants from DBT, that BIRAC grant. So they had been filing GST for the expenses done. Now they are asking them to pay back the money. So there is a particular point I think to remember. Sometimes when a soft money, that is a grant, is taken at the, if a expense is done from that end, probably a clarity is required whether the GST filing has to be done for that particular purchase or not.
Srinath, there comes like when BIRAC funds on different projects, right?
Mhm.
Then if it is for certain scientific things, if you're
Mhm.
registered under special schemes,
Mhm.
then some sort of if you're buying medical equipment or importing medical equipments and other machines, then there is a body under which you need to be registered, for which you will be GST exempted.
Okay.
Okay, and if you're not registered, then you have to pay full GST or the customs duty on that. So customs duty and GST both will be exempted if you're registered under that scheme.
Okay.
So if you're not registered, then not even BILAC, even the finance ministry will tell you to pay the GST on it.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
So that is why you need to understand, before buying or importing or anything, you need to understand where exactly under which scheme you are going to get this, and you need to register it there so that you can avail this benefit.
Right. Any questions by anyone regarding GST? Like GST is both LLP as well as private limited. They can.
No, it is even for proprietorship, you can have GST. If your turnover is more than 20 lakhs, you are forced to have GST.
Okay, so if someone like a few of these startups right now, they are probably not going to have any product for another a year. So do you advise them not to go for GST right now?
Yeah, that's what we advise, that anybody who's not going to achieve a turnover of 20 lakhs annual,
okay,
not to go for GST, because all these additional filings, everything will be really a pain for them, because they really don't understand this 11th by 11th concept. What is input, what is output, what is going, what is coming. They really don't have, I would say, like full experience around it. So they'll usually fall under paying this late payment penalties, and then they will be like, why are we paying, for what is it, we have not done anything. So all these disputes arises. Dispute in the mind arises. So not with thing, but GST, when you take the GST certificate, government is very clear. You have to do zero filing by that date, or you do a filing which is plus or minus on that day.
Okay. Okay, let's say if a startup has already done a registration of GST and they are not going to have that much revenue, can they cancel their GST?
See, GST can be cancelled and revoked any point of time.
Okay.
Okay.
Fantastic.
So for getting the GST certificate and cancelling the GST certificate and revoking, it really doesn't cost anything at all. Everything is online, and everything can be done within a day.
Fine. Good to know. Thank you.
Yeah, and there is a GST helpline center in every state. If you just call them and tell this is what it is, they will create it for you. Okay. You don't need anybody else to do it also.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other questions regarding GST someone has? We can proceed.
What I would. Yeah, please.
Yes, so this is Naresh. If I'm not wrong, the IT filing and GST filing, are those same?
No. That's what we're coming to. Next topic is the IT filings or the company tax filings. But GST has got nothing to do with your income or company's tax filings.
Yeah. Okay, sir.
Okay, my strong recommendation to all startups is, or always have been, until you start making revenue, don't register for GST. So once you start making revenue, you will know how much of money is going to come in, and are you going to be qualified for GST or not. And don't worry, even if you cross 20 lakhs in a year, you can always say we have crossed 20 lakhs and you can apply for a GST. Nothing is going to happen. But if you have a GST and if you don't file, then the problem starts from the GST side, saying it like you have not filed and you have to pay the penalty. Was I clear?
Yeah, you are absolutely clear.
Okay. Okay. The next is the MCA filing.
Excuse me, sir. So, like, how do we consider it as legal without having GST, sir?
What is legal without GST?
I mean, like any company, we usually judge a company by their GST, right?
Not really with the GST. Even if you are having a company, see, if you start a company, you will get a certificate, either sole proprietorship, partnership, LLP, or private limited. You will get a company certificate, right? So you can ask for the
Okay.
company registration number, which is called CIN, Company Identification Number. So if you ask for the CIN number, they should be able to provide you. If they're not able to provide you a CIN number, then you're in trouble. That means the company doesn't exist. If you get the CIN number, you can. It's an online verification. You can go to online, which is Ministry of Corporate Affairs website,
Yes, I got it, sir.
and you can put the CIN number or the company name, and it will give you the details. Okay.
Got it, sir.
So you don't have to verify a company based on GST, because there are many companies which don't have GST at all because they are not in the bracket of 20 lakhs plus.
So, like, what if mistransaction happens with the company
Was it
which
clear?
doesn't have? What if any mistransaction or any illegal transactions happen with between the company, or which on which it doesn't have any GST?
Can you repeat?
Let's say I have a company without any GST. I just registered as a sole proprietorship. So what if I does any illegal transactions? Like how can a customer take any legal action?
See, you cannot do any illegal action. You have to, as I told you, you have to create an invoice. You have to do it. If
Yeah.
you collect cash and do a service,
Yeah.
that is actually illegal from a company perspective. But still, some people are doing it because they don't want to get into that bracket of GST. They will come up to 18 lakhs, and the rest of the things they'll try to manage using cash. Okay,
Okay.
so because they just don't want to be in that GST bracket.
Okay.
Okay.
But a government can take action regarding on it, right? So like as government, like many of the companies deal with the cash, and they
See,
should take it.
see you. See, government says you can take deal in cash. There's no
Okay.
wrong in it, but as long as you show it in your books, that's okay. But if you
Okay.
don't show it in your books, then it becomes difficult.
Okay.
That is when the government will start targeting you, saying it like you don't have it. See, for example, even a person selling, uh, what do you say, a vada pav or something on the street, right? He's
Yeah.
receiving most of its transactions. Now digital payments are there, but most of his things is in cash. So
Yes.
as long as you're not declaring that in the books, that is where the problem lies with the income tax department. But as long as if you show that this is the amount of cash you have received, then there's no
Okay.
issue with it. Government doesn't say don't deal in cash. Government says most of it, preferably, deal with bank to bank transactions. That is the recommended thing. But
Okay.
if
It should be
somebody
registered in
wants
the
to,
book that they're gonna see and give approval for that.
His
yes,
question is regarding the book maintenance. I understand that way.
yeah,
We can
see,
say
you
like
can
that.
receive,
Yes.
but you can always receive cash. There's no harm in receiving cash or
So
giving
someone,
cash also.
yeah. So Vishal, so it's like if you receive a cash, you are going to give them a receipt to them, not a it's a receipt or a voucher, which again is taken care by accountant how it is going into the books. Am I right, Vinay?
Yes, you'll not give a voucher. You'll say a receipt for this
Hmm.
services.
Yeah.
Voucher is issued when you're doing expenses for your own company. For example, you buy 10 cups of tea today. You buy 5 liters of petrol today. Then you're buying flowers for doing your puja in the office. So all these are voucher based
Expenses.
expenses. When you give a receipt, means you're acknowledging there's an official piece of work which was done by you and he has paid you. That's a receipt.
Right.
Got it.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
So MCA. Okay. Can I go with this?
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
So one more doubt.
Yes.
So let's say I have a company of turnover with 20 lakhs. So
Hmm?
as you told, 20 lakhs is if you are having a turnover of 20 lakhs, GST is must. So can I avoid GST by saying using the 20 lakh turnover as a self-investment for the company?
See, investment cannot, see, when I say GST filing means you should have invoices valued 20 lakhs, not investment.
Okay.
You should have done business worth 20 lakhs by issuing invoices.
You earned that money. 20 lakhs is the earning of the company. Yeah.
That's the revenue for the company. The company
Yeah.
revenue should be 20 lakhs. That means you have done work to customers or clients and you have raised invoices to the worth of 20 lakhs. You can keep investing up to 2 crores, 10 crores. That doesn't mean that you have to be liable for GST. But as long as your business is going beyond 20 lakhs, that means you're doing a transaction between two parties from greater than 20 lakhs, that is when you need GST.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, if you invest 20 lakhs, you can invest in 50 lakhs. But that doesn't give you that it is your turnover is 50 lakhs. Your investment is 50 lakhs, your book value is 50 lakhs, your company is valued at 50 lakhs, but you have not done any transaction even for 1 rupee as of now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Great. Yeah, we can continue further. Vinay.
Yeah. So this is a very short one. So you are doing this this annual filing of the companies once in a year, which is from April to March. Whatever transactions, whatever expenses, whatever salaries, whatever purchases you have made, how much of grants you have received, or how much of investment you have got from others. So all that you're going to file it only once in a year, and that's it. There's nothing more than this. So company will either make profit or loss, and company will pay taxes on the profit only, right? So that is what it is. But as far as individuals are concerned, if salaries are drawn out of from the company, if it's an employee, as I told earlier, the company is liable to pay their taxes, hold the taxes and pay the taxes. If it is not, then they are not liable for anything. The individuals are responsible for filing their own personal tax, income tax. So again, there is a clause saying it like if you go beyond a date, certain penalties will be applied. For example, usually you should file within 1 month of the year ending, but usually the government has been quite lenient and they have been giving 3 months, 4 months, 6 months prolongation for filing of all this. So as of now, you're only going to file it once in a year. There's no mid. You cannot do mid. There's only one way you can do it is in the month of September, after the end of September in October, you can only pay some part as an advance tax if you're going to, if you know that you're going to be delayed on your filing of the returns, you file an advance tax to the income tax department and you can always file your returns later on. Apart from that, it's only once in a year. So that's it we wanted to cover today. Now we are open for all questions what we have discussed so far on this. So I'm just going back to this one so that you can ask anything, questions what we discussed or what you want to ask.
No questions?
So if no questions, I would just say, please, begin employee contracts. First, please have the NDA in place. Anybody for that matter, even if it's an individual, it doesn't matter. It's between two individual parties, so it doesn't matter. But at least have the NDA in place so that your concept and idea is intact.
Okay. I have a last pressing question.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So what's the difference in MCA filing for private limited versus LLP?
It doesn't. They're all same.
Oh, it's same. Like
It's the same.
AGM conduction as well as directors or the partners filing?
See, when you start LLP and private limited, there are certain set of documents which are required to be filed. Okay. The only thing when it comes to private limited is you are more stringently monitored because you're more like just like a public limited company. So as you said, you need you should have held at least one AGM. Then there should be a board of directors, minutes of the meeting filed. All that is mandatory when you're a private limited company. But as far as LLP and other things are concerned, there is no additional paperwork. You just put your profit and loss statement and file it.
Yeah, that's it. I wanted them to have a clarity, like, what happens once you are a private limited, because I have gone through these many, whatever you have said as the problems, I have gone through that. That's why I deliberately wanted these things to be very clear to them, because when I formed company, I was told like GST is a must. So I did it. But then I realized that it's not a mandatory thing. So that's the reason. And many other things like the people won't understand how the filing is crucial for MCA kind of thing. So that's why I had designed in such a way that, my own experiences allows them to gain a lot.
Yeah, surely.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah,
Great.
But as when you're doing a startup, to keep it very simple, I would recommend to do an LLP because it is less statutory bound in terms of filing and compliances, and have this NDA in place. So most of the disputes will be resolved then and there internally. Otherwise, if you get out, it's going to be an expensive affair.
True. All right, teams. Some of you have already been in touch with Vinay for one or the other reason. And Vinay is a very kind and gentle person, and you would have understood in the last two interactions. And he is very open to, addressing your queries. So let's thank him a lot, because it's not that easy to have a kind-hearted person who's in a common general tone to deliver it to a startups. Okay, not making a big fuss, keeping it simple is what he, he himself own routine. Yeah, thank you, Vinay, for the wonderful
And this deck is there with you guys. You can have it. And anything, even if it's a very small question, don't hesitate. Please call and I'll answer whatever is required.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Vinay.
Thanks.
Adithya? Okay, I think Adithya is traveling probably.
Yeah, it's okay. That's fine. No worries.
Okay.
Thank you.
So
have a good evening.
I thank you on behalf of REVA NEST. Thank you, Vinay.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, thank you all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.